Hello, this is Lupine Fiasco here again with some Talishar.net gameplay. This is mid-tier 5, working our way up to top tier, playing against Iyslander. Our plan for this matchup is really just to outvalue her. We are running AB0 due to the fact that we have Kodachis. So any floating resources available on our opponent's turn really can go into those Kodachis. That we're an aggro deck. We start with an additional 4 points of life over our Iyslander. So if we had a button that we could press that would say you take 1 damage and I take 1 damage, we would press that button 36 times. So we really don't want to be using our resources to pay for damage mitigation when we can instead use those resources to pay for damage. Here we do get hit by the turn 1 blizzard. There are a few different lines we can take here. Depending on how much we want to let our Iyslander cycle her hand. Looking back on this game, I believe if I could, I would have paid the Blizzard and kept an Enlightened Strike in Arsenal. Something I've really been working on in this matchup is making sure that I'm not arsenaling something that doesn't have go again, unless I'm just stuck with the card. Cold Snap is a serious threat coming out of Iyslander. It seems innocuous, but a lot of our gameplay here, being Kodachi momentum, is getting 6 links on the table. And against Iyslander specifically, she doesn't have great armor, and a lot of her armor is something she wants to hold on to. So Iyslander is really good at blocking the first momentum trigger. She's really bad at blocking the second momentum trigger, and especially the full arcane Iyslander, which is what we're playing against here, in case is a great indicator that there are no wounded bulls, no fighting spirits, no command and conquers coming our way. Losing access to the card in our arsenal really hampers our ability to go 6 links wide. So, arsenaling and Enlightened Strike here. Yes, it does take a card out of our hand, but it is 5 with go again. It can be 5 draw a card if we want to use our snaps. All of this is to say I disagree with my play turn 1. Here, we're just going to run out our Roman Renegade first. We've got a handful of blues. So we are going to be able to threaten 2 mask triggers here. We'll be pitching Warmonger's Diplomacy, terrible card in the Wizard matchup. But it is a blue, so it'll pay for Kodachis here. We're going to see what our Iyslander is up to. Thankfully, no Tunic activation from them, so if Iyslander does want to moon us here, it's going to take another card out of her hand. Getting cards out of Arcane Iyslander hand is great, because if they can't fuse, a lot of the power of their deck really disappears, especially if they're on, I believe Arcane Iyslander is on Rainbow Ice Fang. She needs a 3-card hand to play to fuse an Ice Fang. If we take her down to 2 cards and she can't, then the power of that turn really diminishes. So based on the Iyslander blocks, we do get to send our 5 links here. Would have been 6 if Iyslander had blocked a little later. She does decide to just take, to lose the Ice Vein. We can see we destructed a 3-card hand. And because Soulbeat Strike does not have natural go again, and because we can utilize, really we can play it here, we are just going to do that. Deciding here if we want to snatch snap. I'm not sure if the arcane list runs sync belows. With Iyslander having peak left, there is an argument for sending snatch here. We get a card from hand and peak if she doesn't have the sync below. It also opens our turn up to threatening another mass trigger, or to threatening a mass trigger. If the snatch gets blocked, we get to send 3/1/3. Do I like doing it here? This is turn 4. There's plenty of game left. But we do have our tunic available if this is a Channel Lake Frigid. If I'm making this decision now, I do think I send the snatch here and snap it. Getting peak early really hampers Iyslander's ability to keep Channel Lake around easily, especially if the rest of our turn looks good. But there's absolutely an argument to just sending Rising Resentment, seeing what's up, potentially getting a card from Iyslander. She pitches to play whatever's in her arsenal, and then we get another card from her to block this Rising Resentment to stop the hit trigger. If you don't know, Rising Resentment on link 1 can only banish a 0-cost card, but reducing the cost of a 0-cost card negates a Frostbite. So here we see, let's back this up, just to see if we should have responded to that Iyslander trigger. We have a tunic available. We are looking at sending Kadachi, Lava Vein Loyalty here. We could instead look at sending Lava Vein Loyalty first, then a Kadachi, then picking up our Phoenix Flame to get a card from our Iyslander's hand to stop the mass trigger, then sending Snatch. I think I do like this line, which means that to get around this Frostbite, Lava Vein Loyalty cost 1, Kadachi cost 1, Kadachi costs 1, Phoenix Flame costs 1. We would need 4 resources. We could activate Tunic here. We can also just wait. This is not a Channel Lake Frigid, so I do agree with passing through the Iyslander trigger here. And I think our line proceeding through the rest of this turn is Lava Vein Loyalty for 3. See if it gets a block. Kadachi, Phoenix Flame, Snatch. I can see what I'm doing here. 1/1/3, presenting the bigger hit at the end, but this just gets a card from Iyslander's hand. We wanted to get 2 cards from Iyslander's hand, or she doesn't block. Or she plays a Sync Below. So if that Sync Below comes on link 1, now we Kadachi Phoenix Flame. That gives us the mass trigger. So we can already see some sequencing errors here. It lets us use our Tunic in a better way. Here, because we do want our Phoenix Flame, we have to break our rule of sending our starter first. We are going to take the chance that we get cold snapped here. But Iyslander decides to let it go. Just trying to bait out what's in her arsenal before we activate our Tunic. I think navigating the rest of this turn, I don't necessarily like the Kadachi here. So with this being 4, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 links. I could redo this turn. We are counting on this not being an ice card, considering that Iyslander did not play it here. I believe what I want to do is send Renegade, see if we get a card from Iyslander, then activate our Tunic. I don't like pitching this for Kadachis. I would like to keep it for potential blizzard protection. We just don't need Kodachis for this turn. We are going to want to activate our Tunic in response to this Iyslander trigger. That is going to pay for Flame Call Awakening. Another line we could take here is not paying for this trigger, playing Ronin Renegade. We do get Iyslander's Tunic. Here we'll play our Flame Call. I believe that's what we're going to do. I disagree with this. I think saving the Flame Call is best. We withhold information for longer. I was mistaken. We do not have a Phoenix Flame left in our deck. That's right. We're left with just a bit of an awkward turn cycle here. I think we really did misplay this. Getting to stick a starter in our arsenal is good. That said, we are getting Icebound here. Don't have access to the arsenal, which is unfortunate. We are going to have to pay for our Icebind trigger. We do have, Insidious Chill trigger. We do have quite a few blues in hand, which we're unhappy to give up, but it is what it is. A Cold Snap in Iyslander's arsenal is not going to affect our turn. Unfortunately, we cannot go 6 wide on this turn. These two blues together are 4. With a Ravenous Rabble at the end, we see how devastating it is to have our arsenal frozen. We're also in a weird position where we don't necessarily want to play this brand because we lose our ability to play through Blizzard or Channel Lake Frigid. That said, a Blizzard or a Channel Lake Frigid is going to affect our turn no matter what. So, in the moment, I started with this Ravenous Rabble, just thinking, let's just push some damage. Let's get a reaction out of the Iyslander. We're going to get blocks this turn regardless. We'll push the damage while we can. But I think that we have to not play around the Channel Lake Frigid or the Blizzard, because if the Iyslander has those, our turn is affected anyway. So I do like playing the brand first, then the Kodachi, then we can play our Ravenous Rabble. I like playing this like normal. Let's not front load damage here. We would like to start with a 3 power with a head jab, then play the Kodachi, then play the Ravenous. But starting with the Ravenous here, I think, is just incorrect. Because the Iyslander can just choose to let this damage go through and then has a much easier time of blocking our mask trigger. We want to make her block this 4. We will still get another card from her, but that other card we might get is what, her peak maybe? We would rather force her to block 4. Or if we do send something like 1/1/2, and she blocks the 2, well, that's fine, because she probably didn't get full value. We probably got a 3 block there. Unfortunately, Winter's Bite affecting our Art of War. We do not have a Tunic activation for this Art of War. If we had used our Tunic 3 turns ago instead of 2 turns ago, like we had come up with in this video here of going 3, 3, 1, 1, 1 instead of 3, 1, 1, 3, we would have a tunic activation on our next turn, which would of course make this Art of War so much better. As it is, we are going to discard Double Strike to the Winter's Bite. Double Strike is a bad card into Iyslander if you don't know that they have, whether they have Channel Lake Frigid. Because Double Strike is very bad into Channel Lake Frigid. You have to pay 2 resources to do 3 damage, which is very bad. We can potentially discard the Art of War here, go 6 links wide, and be able to pay for a Frostbite, which is potentially what we should do. The Art of War off a 4-card hand where we have to banish a Blaze Headlong is pretty bad. And even looking at it now without the tuning activation, if we had the tuning activation on our turn, this is a no-brainer. We discard the Art of War. We use the tunic, and we attack with the Ronin Renegade. We use the tunic to pay for Art of War. We have a Soulbead Strike for Blizzard and Channel Lake Protection. Unfortunately, we do have to banish this Blaze Headlong, but we get a good turn. That said, with us not having the tunic, I do think discarding the Art of War to the Winter's Bite is correct. It feels bad, but we are going to get a response from our Iyslander. This could be totally wrong. Discarding an Art of War against an Iyslander feels bad, but I do think it's correct with pressure that we're going to be able to apply here. So we start with Ronin. We do get Aether Hailed, so we're going to be taking 5 damage this turn. Moon is fine, that happens. Here we do want to send our Kodachi next, followed by Blaze Headlong. I don't think this matters. Sequencing the Double Strike first. I think this should be, I agree that this should be Blaze rather than the Shuko Double Strike. What we like is what's happening here. We want to get 2 cards. We want to get Channel Lake and the Peak. As opposed to getting the Peak and then seeing what blocks our Double Strike. Double Strike here, taking our Iyslander down to 1 card. Seeing an okay hand on our side of the table, we will be sending this Spreading Flames first, pitching our Lava Vein. We have Art of War to pay for, or Art of War, which will banish Command and Conquer. We are in the danger zone here. We're at 8 against an Iyslander with Striders. To kill us, Iyslander needs a few. We're not as in danger. It would take Iyslander a few cards to kill us, but this being any blue, well, now that I think about it, no, it's actually very easy for Iyslander to kill us. This being something like an Aether Hail plus Waning Moon plus any 0 for 3 from her hand kills us. And I believe that's what we're about to see happen. But again, that isn't why we're doing this. We're doing these videos to show, and exactly as I described, Aether Vein, or Aether Hail, plus Waning Moon, plus whatever Ice-Bind in case Iyslander has in her hand just kills us. But that isn't why we're doing this. We're doing this because we can go back and see, well, remember 5 turns ago, when we didn't use Spring Tunic, that really messed us up because we missed out on a mask trigger that might have put us in a better position to win the game later. But really what it did was it put us in a spot where we couldn't Tunic on our last turn to play the Art of War that would have likely won us the game, either by killing the Iyslander outright or by taking this Aether Hail from her hand that she needed to kill us. It's these little things, these little losses of value against Iyslander that lose Iyslander games. You can certainly have your Iyslander games where they draw all 3 Channel Link fridges with a Blizzard thrown in, and you could play the game 100 times and you'll never win it. But more often what happens in these Iyslander games and the way we lose is by leaking value over the course of the game that then adds up to, we could have done 4 damage and the Iyslander would already be dead. Or we could have done 4 damage and the Iyslander would have needed to block to not die, which would have prevented her lethal turn, and then we kill her. And we see there, by not utilizing our Tunic on the first turn it was available, we put our Tunic counter behind Iyslander's, which then gave her the additional value that she needed to kill us. So really in this game we have a few takeaways. 1, always try to arsenal something with Natural Go again if you can. 2, get your value when it's available. There are going to be turns with your Tunic where you just straight up can't utilize it, and at that point don't use it just to use it. But if you can use your Tunic to push a few more points of damage, and if you can sequence better to get more blocks out of the Iyslander, do that, because that's the incremental value that will snowball over the course of the game and eventually get you the win. So I will see you all tomorrow with an exciting new video of more mid-FaB gameplay.